Hey everyone, Steve here with Phantom History. Thanks so much for checking us out on YouTube, and if you enjoy our content, make sure you subscribe. I'm really excited to welcome Eric of D.O.A here on this episode of Conjuring Phantom History to talk about the Del Coronado Hotel in San Diego. And of course, this was going to be transformed into a Phantom History podcast as well. But before we get into all the spooky stuff and the history stuff, Eric, thank you so much for joining me. And I was wondering if you could introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
My name is Eric. Like I said, I haven't said anything yet, but actually, the Hotel Del was actually my whole, I don't know, awakening, my origin story of how I got into paranormal research and investigation. And it all started from there, from 2010. And now I've gone on to, we do regular investigations. I have a team. We're called D.O.A Investigations. We do a little YouTube show. It's kind of like a haunted Pee-wee's Playhouse. It's kind of geared, more for kids that are interested in it, and kind of fun paranormal stuff. We go over urban legends, superstitions, and just educating people where they come from and everything. But like I said, back to the Hotel Del. Before I started working at the Hotel Del, I was just kind of, like, oh yeah, ghosts, this, that. I didn't go looking for ghosts. I kind of stayed on, my side of the tracks.
Right.
But things change when you get a nighttime security job at a well-known haunted hotel.
And
So
and I'm sure. And just to kind of set the stage here, this hotel is huge for one. It's been around for a very long time. It's in San Diego. And from what I read, it was kind of like a Hollywood elite escape hotel. Is that a fair way to
yeah,
explain?
it really popular with the celebrities. They filmed a lot of movies there, and to this day, they still have celebrities that come in. Like when I worked there, they wouldn't tell us until we got there that night before our shift who was there and what room they were in, so it wouldn't leak to the media. So
Right.
it's pretty, quiet and hush hush with the celebrities that do come in to let their hair down and leave. But that hotel was built in like 1888, so it's had a lot of celebrities from like Betty Davis, Kirk Douglas, Marilyn Monroe, Tony Curtis, Humphrey Bogart. I mean, the list goes on because it's been around for a while.
Right. And I know that it's constantly improving and expanding. I mean, it's a resort now from all the pictures I've seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So,
they still have the original building in the middle, the main that was built in 1888. And then they have fancier stuff like the towers on the left side of it. And then they have little cottages to the right. These were built like in the past 10 or 20 years. And I wouldn't say those are haunted. We never had any reports about those areas, but the main building to this day has crazy activity you just can't explain.
and you're talking about the original building that everything's kind of surrounding, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
So are these like former or celebrities who have passed who are haunting this place or former guests, or do we have any idea what's going on there?
A lot of people always go back to the Kate Morgan story, which happened in, I think that was 1892, where she had checked in as Lottie Bernard, and she checked into room 3327. And that was on November the 24th, 1892. That's when she checked in. 5 days later, they found her body on the staircase exiting the hotel going to the beach with a gunshot to the head. The coroners said it was self-inflicted. And then there's other stories saying that she was waiting on a lover, she was pregnant, she had drank something, and he never showed up. Like there were so many different stories, but the facts is, that they found her body November 29th, 1892. And to this day, that room, 3327, has a lot of activity to it. And working there, we always had to put up with, kids running by, bothering the guests that were staying in that room.
Mhm.
So a lot of times we had to walk the halls, keep people away. And then there was times when people would they'd kind of set it up as they're with a group of people, they would go to dinner. One would sneak off and go back to the room, throw everything around, go back to the dinner table. Then when they go back to the room, they would call and report to us that there was either a ghost in there or somebody came in and rummaged through their stuff. But now technology is so much advanced. We have key cards. We can stick a device into the keyhole and tell what key was in there last. And it comes back to one of their friends, we have to myth bust it like that.
Right.
So you can't fool technology now. It's really hard to do.
No, it's a different world now with what we're able to do. Now, but you did say that it's considered a haunted room. Does stuff happen in there? Like legit stuff?
I stayed in the room years ago before I started working there. and I was spooked. Slept in the middle of the bed between my two friends. We're in a small bed, and I didn't get any sleep all that night. I was really scared back then. Like I wasn't like I am today. Like now, I'm kind of like, oh look, a ghost. Let's go after it. Back then, I was running like Scooby Doo, like, and I stayed up all night, and I didn't hear anything. I heard the water drip a few times and jump up, and I'm like, well, that's just the plumbing, you know. But since then, we've had guests that stay there, and we get some wild stories and tales, you know, and calls in the middle of the night. Some people just can't deal with it. You know, once you get that in your head that you're in a haunted room, you're probably going to, you know, every little drop or every little crack or something is going to scare you, and you're going to take off running out of there.
Right. And I mean, it's an old building, so it's going to creak and groan and make noises.
Oh,
But of course, not to dismiss that there couldn't be some paranormal activity in the room, right? Because I'm
yeah, I
assuming
believe
that
that
there
there's
is
a
some.
lot of footage. Yeah, I believe there's a lot of footage out there on YouTube of people that have caught stuff from that room. But one of my first night working there, I was with a guy that was training me, and he said, "We got to go, you know, deliver this. I don't know if it was toothpaste, something for the bathroom. A guest will say, 'Hey, I need this,' so we'll go get it out of the shop, unlock it, and we'll deliver it to their room." So we take it to this lady's room, and she opens the door and she says, "Hey, do you guys want to see a ghost?" And I was like, "See a ghost?" I'm like, what does she have?" She's like, "I took this picture earlier in the hallway," and she pulled it up on her camera. And this is the only way I can really, you know, I throw everything out because I mean, I'm very skeptic. She had the memory card and everything still in her camera. So there's no way she could have taken it out, photoshopped it, put it back in. Like this was in 2010. It just wasn't. She took this picture and showed it to us in her camera. And you could see a woman in like 1800s clothing, just the upper body, but her lower body was see through. And you could see it clear as day right there in the hallway that we were standing in. And we looked down and we're like, you know, she just took this picture. This just happened. And there's no way she, like I said, it was still in the camera. That was my first night working there, and that gave me chills. And I was like, am I going to be able to work here at this place? Does this happen every night? And the guy with me, he's like, it doesn't happen all the time, but I wouldn't leave around the hallways. I would go do my rounds every 2 hours and then run back to, you know, the main base in the office. But as time went back, you know, just I got more comfortable with it, roaming the halls, seeing things, hearing things. And there's also, besides Kate Morgan, there's other ghosts there that a lot of people don't really, you know, they don't get the publicity or media attention that she does because she's got the whole history and background. But I didn't know until I started working there that one of the main office buildings off to the side of the Hotel Del, it was on the island, I think like in the 1800s, and it used to be an orphanage. They moved it over here and they used that for like the main office building. So there's not a lot of traffic in there at night, but we still go patrol it every now and then to make sure everything's okay. Well, some of the guards, not me, but they said they reported that they've seen kids' handprints on the windows of the doors going in and out. And I was like, are you sure there weren't people there and they just didn't clean the windows? You know, like my skeptic side, I bring out all the questions and they're like, no. And they're like, they're not there now. So every time I would go by that building, I'd always make a point. I was like, do I want to look at the window or do I not want to look at the window? You're kind of like, I got to look at the window. But I never saw the handprints, but it was reported that kids' handprints were on that building. And there was also a tunnel that goes underneath the hotel over to that building and comes up that's not open to the public. It's for maintenance and workers, and it is creepy. I've walked through there at nights, just you know, dare myself to do it. And like I said, you hear every little creak, you're looking, and I don't want to look behind me. I just keep going forward just to say I did it and made it through. And then I'm over there in the orphanage with the kids. I'm like, what am I doing here now? But I did have an incident where I did hear kids one night when I was walking the halls on the main floor, and they used to have like this one area where it's like a little closet area is open, but they had telephone booths in there. When they had payphones, all the payphones were there, and they still had payphones back in 2010. So I'm walking up, and I could hear kids in there playing with the phones, and this is like 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock, and I'm just kind of like, I'm gonna have to run these kids off or find their parents, you know. And I was like, I'm gonna casually walk by and glance in and keep walking so I can make sure, you know, it's not kids with their parents. I walked by and glanced in, and there was nobody in there, and I kept walking. And I was just like, did I just hear what I heard? And there was nobody in there. And I heard kids in that room. But as I walked by, there was nobody in there. And like I said, back then, I didn't investigate. I kept walking because I was scared. I was like, that was my job. I couldn't quit.
Right. And when you say you heard kids, you heard like their voices or just them messing with the phones, or what did you hear?
I heard their voices like they're giggling or something. So I'm thinking it's kids meddling with the phones. And I heard the phones moving. And then as I walked by, there was nobody there. The phones were sitting there still and nothing happened.
Wow. And and I like how you say that you've kind of matured as an investigator where you just kept moving, you're not going to even bother. And now if you could go back, you'd probably be like, "Oh, I need to check that out."
Oh yeah, if I could go back now and I had the equipment I have now, I mean, like I said, stuff's so far advanced now that we can detect stuff and go back and see and get more, kind of question, why are you here? What's going on? Who are you? Type of thing. But I mean, we had a lot of weird activities, like just random calls. Like I don't know where one day I came in, I think on the left wing on the second floor, a guest called and reported that the bathroom door was locked. So we had to go in, open the bathroom door, get a key, open it up. Okay, the next night I come into work on the same floor on the other side of the hallway, they called and reported their bathroom door was locked. And I'm like, what is going on with the bathroom doors? And then towards the end of the week on the third floor, their bathroom door was locked. And I was like, this is crazy because these people don't know each other and they don't know this is going on. People just keep calling us for security to go let them in their bathroom. And one of them, the bathtub was running. And they said, I don't know how the door locked. I came out, but we got to get in there fast because it's going to run over. So that one we had to get in fast. But then that happened in that 1 week. And then ever since then, never again. It's weird. It's like, so I'm thinking, is this going to start happening regularly? But no, it was just that 1 week that the bathroom doors were locking.
And that is eerie, especially if you're in the room and you started the bathtub and you leave and suddenly it shuts and locks itself. That's like poltergeist movie
Yeah.
activity, what it
Yeah.
sounds
And
like.
when it has that ability to lock the door.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and again, with the place being as old as it is, I'm sure there's a lot of old energy in there. Do
Oh,
you
yeah.
do you think that whatever haunts the hotel is residual or intelligent or both? What's your opinion there?
I think both, and I think there's more than one. Like I said, that one with the bathrooms, I'm like, that had to be like a trickster or maybe a kid, one of the kids, from the orphanage. But I think it's a lot of mixture. But a lot of people always go back to Kate Morgan. I'm like, working there for 2 years, we know there was more than just one. The front desk, we always got calls, from the girls at the front desk. They're scared every night. So we'd normally have to go down there and babysit them because they would hear stuff move in the lobby and stuff when no one's in there. And so one of us would have to go sit with them for like an hour or two until they were calmed down.
Well, and this place is pretty big, from what it
Oh
looks like, from
yeah.
what I've researched. So that's a lot of area to cover and a lot of reports coming from different areas of this massive property.
Yeah. And then, like I said, a lot of stuff, like I only worked there on the night shift for those 2 years. There's no telling, my nights off or in the daytime stuff kind of happens. I mean, a lot of even housekeeping was scared in the daytime. I'd come walking out of one room and one would be going in and she would just scream that the door moved right when I pulled from the other side. Like everybody was kind of jumpy that worked there.
It sounds like it, and it sounds like they have a reason to be because there is so much activity going on there. Do I know that the hotel kind of celebrates and recognizes the story of Kate? I've seen, they have books and things about her.
Yeah.
But when you worked there, did they like embrace their paranormal side? I mean, do investigations happen there? Do they kind of say this is part of your experience?
They embrace it because a lot of their gift shops they have the Kate Morgan books, with the stories and everything in it. But then when it comes down to, nightfall, I think like by 9 o'clock, certain people can't go up in the building up past the first floor due to, there's guests that pay good money that stay there and they don't want to be bugged all night by investigators. So we have to kind of put a stop on and say, hey, this is, a building, this is a company and a business they're running, but we can't just turn it over to ghost investigations because there's people that really just want to stay here just for the beach and everything.
Right. Just the beauty of the location. They want to enjoy the modern amenities that are
Yeah,
there.
and it was really I would have worked there longer if I hadn't had other priorities that I had to relocate and move. But working there, my 2 years working there is it was nice. You get to sit out on the beach, you patrol the area. The building was nice. It was breathtaking. You just got to overlook the ghost every now and then. But if you can get past that, it's a dream job, you know.
You get past the hauntings, you're good. I know you said that you had this experience with, hearing the kids near the telephones and things like that. And this was early on in your paranormal career, if it was even part of that career yet. Did you have any experiences there that like really freaked you out, where it really rattled you or shook you a little bit, or was it all pretty, just kind of awkward and disturbing like with those kids?
There was times where, like I said, we had to do our job and patrol at least every 2 hours. And we had the main building, we had the towers over to the right, and we had the cottages over here, broken into three sections. So there'd be one security guard working the desk, and the other three had to patrol an area. I was there like the last man in, so the other two guys, they picked the other two buildings. I was always stuck with the main building because they were scared to walk the halls at night. So when I first started, they kind of throw you into the fire. And I was like, okay, I got to make, I mean, it was like walking around The Shining, the hotel in The Shining. You're walking down these halls and it's just quiet and creepy at 12 and 2 and 4 in the morning. And every little thing you hear, you kind of jump. And then when we'd go out on the beach and we'd kind of, me and another guard, we kind of patrol out there and we would look back at the windows and we would look at windows. We're like, I don't think anybody's in that room. The light would be on. So we'd call the front desk on a radio and say, who's in room, blah, blah, blah. And they said, that room's vacant. And I was like, that light was not on 2 hours ago. So then we would go into that room to investigate and we wouldn't find anything. And of course, I had my camera phone back then. That's all I had. I'm taking pictures like, do I see orbs or anything? And I didn't see anything pop up. But yeah, I mean, it was stuff like that. You would see lights on in rooms that weren't on before, and you wouldn't really notice unless you're really, then you start paying attention. Like, okay, why is this? And then the next night, I'm watching and I'm thinking, was this light on the other night? The room next to it, like it's going around in like one area, like it did with the bathrooms. It was on the second floor for a week. So it's just strange activity. Then people can't really get in there and film a TV show and investigate like you really want to, because like I said, it's a business. They won't allow it.
Right, it's really hard to have that balance of, we're an investigation location, but we're also this amazing resort upscale place. And you have very wealthy celebrities coming in, so that's a lot to balance and juggle. But it sounds like that, like we said, every corner of the place is haunted or has something going on. What about like some of the public areas? I mean, you mentioned like the lobby. Um, is there anything weird on the beach? Is it around the pools, or is it really mostly inside the structure itself?
From my experience, everything that I've experienced has mostly been inside the main structure in that main building.
Okay.
I patrolled all around and everything, and I've never come across anything out of the ordinary in the other two buildings or, on the beach. But it's always been, just crazy activity within the building.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know that, it's been talked a lot about Kate, who sounds like she's the most famous spirit there. Do you have any IDs on any of the other spirits that are likely there? Like, do we know who they are, or is we just can't really
I've
investigate?
always, yeah, I've always wanted to go back and research, investigate more because, now we have the internet, we have records we can get to access, and I wanted to look more into, and I wanted to look up, like, were there other deaths there? There had to be other people that passed away, but, hotels kind of keep that quiet. But I was like, I really wanted to look into it now that we have the resources and it's easy to look into nowadays.
Right. I mean, the internet is so vast. There's all these newspaper clippings and things to find. But to your point, a hotel advertising that, oh, somebody else died here is not really great marketing, probably.
Yeah.
Not something you want to
People
do.
are just dying to get in.
The great taglines just kind of create themselves. Um, Again, when I was reading about the hotel and looking at all the pictures, I was just amazed by how beautiful it was, and of course the celebrity photos and things that are on there, that are posted on there now. What would you say to somebody who is interested in the paranormal and plans to make a visit there? Because I know you can't do like an official investigation. What would you say to them, like what to expect, or what like limited things could they do to try to do a very small investigation, or is that even possible?
Yeah, bring their equipment, just keep it on the down low. Don't have it all out in the middle of the hallway. Like there's certain pockets and areas in the building you can go to, little lounges and stuff, and you kind of just tend to yourself, and you can pick up activity there. And I'd say go to security guards because I mean, who knows the place better than the people that work all night? They go up and down the halls. And I used to have people that would come in and they go to the security desk before I got there, and they said, we're looking for that other guy that has orbs around him because I had this rumor that people started taking pictures of me in the hallways, and the orbs would come in the pictures. So we have people that go through the main lobby taking pictures trying to capture the orbs, but there's this one stairway that you get orbs like regularly. And every time I would go there, they would take pictures with me or of me, and they would get the orbs and stuff. So they're kind of like, all the other employees are like, yeah, they're following him, go with him. And I kind of used it to my advantage. I made a little tour out of it, and I learned about the building. The first electrical lit Christmas tree was on the front lawn of the Hotel Del. And this is stuff you don't see online. They have a plaque and everything. So I'd walk people out there, show them this tree, this was the first electrical lit Christmas tree. And then I would take them to another area where they had this tree called the Dragon Tree, and there's a plaque there. And it said that when they filmed the movie Some Like It Hot, they were told not to cut the limb or anything off that tree because it was cursed. Well, they cut a limb because they were trying to get a camera in a certain area for a shot. And then I think within hours later, they left the camera there. The sap from the tree came down, ruined the camera and everything. So they were like, oh, that was the curse of the dragon tree. So it's little stories like that you don't see online. And they have these plaques. So I just walked around reading the plaques, and they're like, hey, let me show you this. And by the end of my little hour-long tour, they're tipping me, and I was making money on the side, and then I would tell them all about the ghost stories and everything. So that kind of got me into the whole paranormal things. Like, I'm going to collect all these stories from what other people said and in my own experience, and then start a little tour. So then I had people that were waiting for me at 9 o'clock at night when I would get there, like, hey, you got people looking for you over here and stuff. Or there was one guy that he had came with a date, and I showed him around. 2 or 3 weeks later, he showed up with a different girl. So now he started bringing his dates like every weekend. That would be the thing he would do. Would come find me.
That's amazing. You're like, oh, hello again for the first time. I don't know you.
Yeah. I do. Hey, what happened to that other girl?
Oh yeah, that's scarier than the ghost. During
Right.
these tours with these guests, did you ever encounter anything strange or weird during those, or was it mostly more like a historical context?
Not really, because it was more like historical,
Yeah.
and then I would tell you about the ghost here and there, what was seen at this spot, or somebody reported this here and stuff. And there was one room on the fourth floor, and like I said, there was a guy that stayed there. He was with a woman. She hung herself in the closet back there or something. So that always freaked me out because that room was off on like a little wing by itself on down a little creepy hallway. And I dare myself to go in there one night. So me and one of my coworkers like, let's go in there and just look in the closet and see if we see anything. And we didn't see nothing, but that little stuff spooked us out, and we didn't know if those were stuff that really happened or if those are rumors of the hotel. You hear some stuff and you're like, is this true? Can I look this up?
Well, that's what's so hard about a place that's so old and is so big as that. What is urban legend and what is actual fact, and then trying to decipher all
Yeah.
that can be really hard. But you said that you've had guests who, like the woman you said who took a photo in the hallway and said, "Oh, look what I caught." Do you have any guest stories that stand out in your head where one of the guests called in the middle of the night and was really freaked out about something or encountered something that scared them? Anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, we had a lot that were just scared, and we
Yeah.
would go into the room and there wouldn't be nothing in there. Like, the ghost is not going to do nothing in front of us. It'd be some major poltergeist. We get there, the TV's floating or something like, okay, yeah, let's get out of this room. But we had the regular calls that people were scared, like their TV kept coming on. And then we'd go down there like, okay, well, unplug it. I don't, I don't know what to do. Are you sitting on the remote? Like we tried to always look into like, why is it constantly coming on and stuff? But yeah, that was a big thing was like TVs would come on a lot too in certain rooms.
Well, I've always heard that, like electricity or water, anything with that energy in it can really kind of be more easily manipulated for a spirit. Which what I've been told.
Yeah.
I'm not an investigator myself, but I guess it kind of makes sense.
Like my main thing is I've thought like, why is this place so haunted? The Hotel Del, the island. But if you think about it, like you said, the energy that comes from water, salt water, you're surrounded by salt water. Do spirits get trapped within a realm of a place surrounded by salt water? Because you've always been told do a circle of salt to protect you from something. What if they're stuck there because of the water, the salt water, just like Alcatraz? It's so haunted, it's surrounded by salt water. So that was one of the theories that I came up with of why the Hotel Del is haunted.
And I mean, I don't know if you know the answer to this, but what was on that island before the hotel was built there? And it's like that could
Exactly.
still be around.
You don't really know because we only know from them starting construction in 1886, and then 1888, they built the town there and everything.
Yeah.
And then it went from there. Everybody that passed away probably on that island is still stuck, trapped there.
Right. And they have a lot of people to entertain and mess with now because of that huge resort that's there.
Yeah. I got so comfortable with, after my second year of being there that, I was kind of living the lifestyle, young, single, and I was spending a lot of money on rent because the housing is very expensive in San Diego. And I was like, you know what? I worked this job and I worked another security job to make ends meet. And I was like, I work so much that I'm never home. So why don't I have a place? So I kind of told my friend that I was roommates with, I told her, I was like, I'm going to go stay with my other friend and move in with him. And then I told that friend, oh, I'm still living with this friend with her. So they never knew that I just got rid of my apartment and everything. And I was like, I want to be a beach bum. You got the beach here. You work at the hotel. We had our own cafeteria because it's a 5-star hotel. I could eat at the hotel. We had showers, lockers. I was like, why do I have an apartment? I'm never home. So then that led me to, okay, where am I going to sleep? Because I work nights. Where am I going to sleep in the day? That's when I made my way up to the 5th floor of the hotel. I found a cubby hole, a passage, went through the attic and went over another room. And then right there was this huge like attic room with a little window for decorating that lets sunlight in. And I popped a sleeping bag up there. I lived in the Hotel Del for 6 months and nobody knew it.
Really?
And then I went back probably 3 years ago, and there was a girl that still works there. And she pulled me to the side. I was talking to her and my friends, and she pulled me aside. She's like, hey, did you ever live up there in the attic? Because now times past they remodeled and they found my old candy wrappers. They found my books up there because I'd be bored and I would read books and stuff. And I was like, why do you ask me that? One of the managers was on to me before the end, but he couldn't catch me up there. I kept sneaking in and out. So I was like, why did you ask me that? She said, every employee that comes here now, they always come up and say, hey, you worked here a while. What's the urban legend about the guy that used to live in the attic? I'm like, hold up, I became an urban legend, So
That's
now I'm like, yeah, that
amazing.
was me. I'm trying to own it, but even if you look at the pictures of the Hotel Del from the main entrance, the top room over to the right, the attic, you could see the attic where I slept in for like 6 months in the daytime, and I'd go to work at night and stuff, and I'd have to sneak in and
Oh,
out.
and sleeping in that attic during the day was probably less spooky than it would have been if you were sneaking in there at night.
Yeah, but there were some nights I had to go up there because I had nights off, and that was scarier. Trying
Really?
to get through the attic in the dark, and like a little flashlight, that was the creepiest times. And sleeping up there at night, I experience sleep paralysis whenever you sleep on your back. It's like you kind of, and the way I think of sleep paralysis, you're kind of in a state of sleeping, but at the same time, your eyes are kind of opening. So you're kind of seeing stuff around you, but you're still in a dead sleep. So to me, a lot of people think that's crossing over into the paranormal world, and our world is between that sleep time. You can't move, you can't holler, but you can see, and I see stuff coming up from the attic, from the floor, but it would be the room below me, their ceiling, but I'm sleeping above them, and I would see figures coming up. And that would spook me out sleeping up there at nighttime. That would happen.
So you could
And
see like apparitions of people.
yeah, but it wouldn't be like a solid figure. It would just be kind of like a wave, a 3D dimension thing coming up from the floor, but it wouldn't bother me or do anything. And I couldn't move, I couldn't scream, I couldn't do anything. I'm just like freaked out watching this. And I think that was in my sleep paralysis. When you're half awake and you're half asleep, you see stuff through that room. And it's a lot of people that have sleep paralysis. tell you, like you can't move, you can't scream, you're just stuck.
And that is fascinating to me that you're kind of in between those two realms and you can see these spirits, for lack of a better word, that if you were wide awake laying there, you'd look right past them, it sounds like.
Yeah,
Were
and
they
that's another
like,
thing that another thing people can't really explain is sleep paralysis. Why do you have sleep paralysis? That's the way I see it, is that you're kind of in a state of half awake and half asleep because your eyes are kind of rolling back in your head. Because a lot of times it happens to people that sleep on their back without a pillow. Your head falls back and your eyelids kind of fall back and you can see around you.
and I'm curious about these figures that you saw that look like waves. Were they like, could you tell like, oh, this is a man, this is a woman, this is what they're wearing, or was it not quite that clear?
I couldn't really tell because, like I said, it was dark too, and I could only go by a little bit of light that came through that window that was in the attic. That was like a street light or something. So there wasn't a lot of light up there to really make out what I'm looking at.
Right. Wow, but what an interesting perspective you have of the hotel by, spending those 6 months there as a hidden guest, I guess is the right
Yeah,
the
I
right words.
was like, I
Um,
should come out with my book.
Absolutely. I mean, you said you went back and visited since then. Do you
Yeah,
get back there pretty regularly, or was that just a happen chance that you got to go back and see it?
I usually like to go back once a year. And I mean, I really like going back during Christmas because they put a Christmas tree around every corner in that building. It looks so nice. They have an ice skating ring out back they put in. Kids are ice skating. And, a lot of they have a lot of the Dr. Seuss books. The author of Dr. Seuss used to stay there. And they have a lot of his figures out there around the ice skating, like the metal tin figures. And also, oh God, what's his name? He wrote The Wizard of Oz. He stayed there. So it's
Oh, wow.
believed that while he stayed there, he wrote The Wizard of Oz while he was staying at the Hotel Del. That's the story, but there's no known facts about it.
Right, right. And
But I mean, there's just so much hidden history that, is not published.
well, that's what I was going to say. A place like that that has seen so much traffic, so many celebrities, has been around so long. That's a lot to keep up with. I mean, keeping up with all of it is hard. And I also wanted to give everybody who's listening and or watching a chance to get to know you a little bit better. But before I do, I wanted to say thank you for wearing the t-shirt that you have on underneath your coat.
Oh, I'm going to wear this thing out. I like the V-neck too. I'm glad I got that style.
Yeah, it's a very comfortable shirt. So thank you for the support of the house. We appreciate it. If people want to learn more about you, follow you, watch your show, where can they find you and what do they look for?
I link all my social media platforms under one website, which is doapage.com. So if you go to doapage.com, you'll hit it there. And
Before we say goodbye, any final thoughts you wanted to share about the Del Coronado Hotel out in San Diego?
there was one thing I didn't think about whenever it happened after I left there, but the girl I told you that I was talking to that still worked there, she was telling me of her experience. She said it was crazy during COVID. And I didn't even think about it, but they didn't have any guests staying there. And she said that the staff went home. So security had to stay in this huge building every night. And she said they didn't have food because the cafeteria wasn't open. They would stoop around and find like a loaf of bread in the cafeteria and they would fight over it. And she said that was the creepiest time because it was a ghost town. For 6 months they closed down, but you had to stay on as security and still patrol this haunted building. I mean, wouldn't you think that would be like a crazy experience?
It would be crazy and also amazing, depending on who you are.
Yeah, I don't. Then you can break out your gadgets and everything because there's nobody there anyway. No guest is going to see you and complain.
Exactly. So that you're like the you now versus the you then in 2010 would have a very different experience in that hotel with it being.
Yeah, I was like, oh darn, I should have came here during COVID and just hung out in the attic again, moved back in.
Uh, well, I really appreciate you taking the time, Eric, to tell me all about this hotel. It's definitely on my list now, places I want to visit. And of course, I have had an opportunity to watch some of your episodes. I recommend it. They're very fun. They're very, very cool, but very factual. You learn something at the same time. And like you said, it's like a Pee-wee's Playhouse for the paranormal, I think is a great way to describe it. If you're watching this on YouTube, check out the links down below. We will link to everything DOA.